everyone, my name's Ebony and welcome back to another video.
Think I know you better to forget her. Certain people made for running. Think I need you more than let you know I'm bored and tell me this means more than nothing.
So today we are covering all the books that I read in May, but before we get into that, we can start with showing you my May wrap-up page, which I just completed before doing this. So here she is. There's my May wrap-up, little preview there. And then also I will tell you my stats for the month of May. May wasn't the best month in terms of my reading. I think it's actually the worst month I've had so far. Here's my book stats page. So in May, I read 9 books. In comparison, I read 13 in April, 16 in March, 11 in February, and 10 in January. So it is the worst month I've had so far. But like not by a lot, you know, like it's not like I did like marginally worse. I read 3,061 pages. In comparison, I read 4,705, 5,517, 3,393, and 3,391 in previous months. I read 5 physical books, which is the most I've read in a month so far. In comparison, I read 2 in April, 4 in March, 3 in both January and February. I think that was because I was in a bit of an audiobook slump, but I was doing really well physically reading, which is weird. Usually it's the other way around where I have physical slumps, but I'm really doing really well with my audiobooks. So it's an interesting thing. For audiobooks, I read 4 in May, and for comparison, in April I read 11, in March I read 12, in February I read 8, and in January I read 7. And I had 1 reread, which the only other time I had a reread was in March. Not the best month, but not the worst. Like, definitely could have been worse than that. And I did really well with my physical reads, so that I'm really proud of. Okay, so let's get into the books that I read this month. So first I read Breaking Butterflies by Emma Helios. I used to have a copy of this book, but we are selling it at the garage sale, as is the case with a couple of the books on this list. I read this book as part of my Reader DNF 2-part vlog series. It's also in a series of vlogs I'm going to be doing about purging my physical TBR. I just started a book for a new vlog in that series, so that's exciting. But if you missed it, go check them out. But in that vlog series, basically, I read 50 pages of the book, and if I'm not feeling it, I DNF it. If I'm feeling okay with it, then I continue it. I guess if you're taking that into account, I DNF'd like 5 or 6 books in May. I only included books that I completed in the month of May in here, so there's that to keep in mind as well. So anyway, Breaking Butterflies follows the main character Sphinxie, and she and this boy named Cadence, their moms were best friends like growing up, and their moms made this pact of like they would get pregnant around the same time, they would both get married at the same time, their kids would grow up and also get married. They eventually had Cadence and Sphinxie, and Cadence is literally a psychopath. I go on about this a lot in those vlogs, but he's insane. When they were little, he like cuts Sphinxie's face, and because of that they like sort of grow apart. And Cadence and his mom moved to London, I think. They do keep in touch through letters, but they don't really like talk much anymore because like they're scared of him basically. And then one day they get a letter from them saying that Cadence has cancer and he is dying. And so then they had to make like the hard decision of going to see them since he is dying. And Sphinxie's like, yes, I want to go. I'm not gonna tell you much else besides that because for the sake of spoilers, but honestly, like, this book wasn't very exciting, it wasn't very thrilling, so I wasn't a huge fan of this book, and I gave it 1 star. Not a great way to start off the month. The next book I read was Spirit Bound, which is the 5th book in the Vampire Academy series. This was my reread for the month. I did read this for the Vampire Academy and Bloodlines read-along that I was a part of. Unfortunately, that read-along is not a thing anymore. We ended up having to end it. I am still going to continue reading the last book in Vampire Academy and the Bloodlines series. It's just they won't be part of the read-along anymore. I did read this one with my boyfriend, and so we read it together. It's super fun and cute. And he was definitely very intrigued by this one. There were points where he was like, what? And I just thought it was so funny. I love the Vampire Academy books. If you are new here, they're one of my favorite series. I reread them I think 3 or 4 times. I give them all 5 stars. I love them very dearly. And of course I gave this one 5 stars. And then I read Lock and Key by Sarah Dessen. This I read on audiobook, but I did have the physical book. Not anymore because I took it to the garage sale. I have an issue with Sarah Dessen's books, I've noticed. Not all of them, because some of them, like, I do have a couple of them on my shelves that I really enjoyed. But some of her other books I find to be not very, like, they're good when you're reading them, but they're so fluffy that you don't remember them, like, a month later. And that's sort of the case for this one. Honestly, all I remember is that the main character, her mom was, like, absent, and one day her mom just leaves, and so she's just living in the house by herself, and it's not the cleanest condition, and then Child Services finds out, and so the main character ends up going to live with her sister, who is well settled and married and got herself out of that life. Basically, the main character's life is just, like, uprooted, and she's struggling with that change. I did get rid of my copy of this because, like I said, it wasn't super amazing, and I know that if I ever decide I want to reread it, I will read it on audiobook because I read it on audiobook the first time, so it's not really like I need to keep it for any reason. Very fluffy. I did give it 4 stars because I enjoyed it while I was reading it, but it's just not one of those books that sticks with you. And then I read Alex as Well by Alyssa Brugman. This one was interesting. This I also read for the Reader DNF vlogs. So it follows a character named Alex who was born sexually ambiguous, and the parents decide that he's going to be a boy. But when he turns 14-ish, around that age, he decides he wants to be a girl. So she changes her pronouns and ends up going to a new school where she just identifies as a girl. No one really questions it. But that causes a lot of issues with her parents, and her parents aren't very supportive, and she ends up wanting to get, like, emancipated, wanting to get out of her house, away from her parents, and there's just a lot of, like, family drama there. There's also a fashion show at the school, which was interesting. Like, it's not something you would think happens at a school, but I don't know. That was a wild time. But my biggest issue with this book is that it was confusing. The book had a lot of, like, dialogue, not in quotation marks, between Alex and Alex. And the way, like, at the beginning, the way it was written, it was like, I'm talking to Alex, I'm Alex as well, or whatever. It's confusing. And I always assumed that when there was dialogue with this other person, I thought it was a best friend who was also named Alex. I didn't realize until my boyfriend pointed it out, because we sort of read this book together. We read, like, the second half together. He thought that when Alex was talking to this other person, it was because Alex was talking, or, like, having, like, an inner dialogue with herself. And it was kind of like there was boy Alex and girl Alex, and it was kind of like they were, like, separated in Alex's head. And it was really confusing to read about. And also, I don't know if that's quite accurate representation. If it is, then awesome. I mean, it is a diverse read. Obviously, you have a main character who is transgender, but like I said, I don't know if it's accurate. So I ended up giving this 2 stars, mostly just because it was confusing. And then I read A Reaper at the Gates by Saba Tahir. This is the 3rd book in the An Ember in the Ashes series, and I was budding reading this with Mare from Mare Reads and Nicole from Nicole Reads, and Mare DNF'd this book. I think she was, like, halfway through it. And I don't think that Nicole is necessarily DNF'd it. I think she's just really busy with school. But I did read the whole book, and honestly, I don't remember much. This series started really strong for me. I really liked the first book, which I read for my December Fantasy Challenge, because I struggle with fantasy. So that's the other thing, is, like, I don't know if I don't like it because I don't like it, because I'm not a huge fan of it, or if I don't like it just because it's fantasy and I struggle with fantasy. I know a lot of people rave about this series, but I do kind of, Mare wanting to DNF this series also does make me feel validated. So, I mean, it's not just me who isn't loving this series. Like I said, I really enjoyed the first book. The second book was not very good, and then the 3rd book honestly did nothing for me either. I will probably read the last book just because I'm this far, and I might as well. I don't know, this one just, it didn't do much for me. It wasn't too amazing or anything, and I'm kind of sad about it because, like I said, I did really like the first book. I did give this book 3 stars just because I felt very neutral about it, and I didn't really know, like, what to do with it, so I just gave it 3 stars. And then I read Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. This is the sequel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which I read in January, and I really liked A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and so I was really excited to pick up this sequel as well. This book I probably started in March. but I like ran out of time on my loan for the audiobook and it took forever to get back to me. But I finally finished it in May and I really enjoyed it. Holly Jackson writes a good mystery, and I've noticed that I've been liking murder mysteries more and more as I read more of them. I thought originally that this was just gonna be like a companion novel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I didn't realize it was like actually a sequel, but I mean I was fine with it being a sequel. However, the ending wasn't very conclusive. Like, it felt like it was sort of open-ended, and so I'm wondering if there might be a third book in the series. I mean, maybe we already knew that and I just didn't know because I haven't really done much research on this series, but it does, like, the way it was written did feel like it would be open for another sequel, so I'd be really excited if another one did come out. Pip is a great main character. I just love the research that she does, and the mystery in this one was very intriguing. The climax was great. It just, to me, the resolution wasn't the best because it, like I said, it did feel like it wasn't done. But hopefully that means there is another book coming. I enjoyed this and I gave it 4 stars. And then I read the only book I can hold up because it's the only one that I have with me, and that is Firsts by Lori Elizabeth Flynn. This is another one of those books I read for the Reader DNF vlog, and it is the only book from that vlog that I decided to keep. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars. It was a hidden gem, and that is the whole reason I did those vlogs, is because I feel bad getting rid of books without reading them because I'm like, what if they're a hidden gem? That's what this one was. Basically, this one follows main character Mercedes, who is doing this sort of pet project. Her mom has kind of like influenced her into being very like sex positive, very open about that kind of thing, I guess. And she ends up doing this thing where she sleeps with virgins, usually virgins who are already in relationships, because she teaches them basically how to do things the right way, how to be good, I guess. So then when they do end up having their first time with their girlfriend, then they know like what to do, and it's good for the girlfriend. It sounds like terrible. It sounds very like toxic and like cheating and like awful, but like really she has good intentions. Like, she thinks she's doing a good thing because she's giving these girls the perfect first time. Wild concept. However, Mercedes is a terrible best friend. Her best friend is like the leader of like the Christian youth group Abstinence Club, and first of all, Mercedes is an atheist, and also Mercedes is definitely not abstinent. So that's a yikes. She does a lot of lying to her best friend, and that is very toxic in itself. Like, it's almost like Mercedes feels like she has to be 2 different people, which is not how a friendship should be. She feels like she's doing the right thing. She's just not. And Mercedes is also having this like friends with benefits relationship with a guy in her chemistry class who I really loved him. He was a great character. And he definitely wants something more, but Mercedes is very like closed off in that way. She has boundaries. And then one day this new girl named Faye moves to school and they sort of become friends, but also kind of rivals. Mercedes is jealous of Faye because Faye has like the perfect body, she's very sexy, you know, that kind of thing. And Mercedes thinks that Faye is moving in on the guy character, Zach, that's his name. Basically, there's just a lot that happens in this book. There's a lot of drama. What bothered me the most about this book, the one thing that kept me from giving it a 5-star rating, was that there was so many times where the book hinted at like maybe a sapphic relationship between Faye and Mercedes, like at points where Mercedes was like, I was close enough to kiss her, or she like just feels that like energy, that like tension, that chemistry between her and Faye, and like nothing comes of it. Like, it just kept like hinting at it and there was no payoff. There was no sapphic moment. Even if like she didn't end up with Faye, like okay, whatever. But like I just wanted that sapphic moment and it didn't happen. And so I was really bummed about that. So that's the one thing that kept it from getting a 5-star rating, is just that I really wanted maybe a little something to blossom between Faye and Mercedes, because they had such chemistry and it would have been so cute, and it didn't happen and I was really upset about it. The main like conflict in this story is that Mercedes' best friend's boyfriend is really creepy, and Mercedes keeps like a journal of like all of the virgins that she slept with and like kind of rates them and like takes notes and stuff. And that creepy guy like sort of blackmails her with that, and it's like wild. I mean, it takes a while for that sort of conflict to come in, probably about halfway, but there's like a lot of different things in this book that you're just like, there's like so many plot lines and you're like, what is happening? It sounds very chaotic and very weird, but it totally worked. I didn't want to put this book down. I read it so quickly, and it was like the first time in a long time where I felt like I just wanted to sit and read it, and it was very good. I enjoyed it a lot. Very quick. I gave it 4 stars. Yeah, it was great. And then I read That Summer by Jennifer Weiner. This is a book that we have at the store. It's actually on the bestsellers list right now. Basically, it follows these 2 characters. I think they're both named Diane or Diana, I can't remember. But one of them goes by Daisy. And one day, one of them gets the other person's email by mistake because they both have like the same name except for like one letter is different in their names or in their emails. They actually start talking to each other because they accidentally got each other's email. They meet up one day, have like a nice little chat, but then they like go on about their lives. So there's like 2 very separate characters with separate lives. It's weird because I thought it was gonna be like about their friendship growing, but really it was more about the 2 characters and how they are living their own lives. But there's like a really big reveal at the end that I was like, oh my gosh. And so it was, if you like a character-driven story, this would be a good one for you. It was very much just about these 2 characters. I enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 stars. Then the last book I read in May, I read during a 24-hour readathon that I did with my friends Stephanie and Jess, and I will link their channels down below for you. And I did vlog this readathon. I just haven't gotten to posting that vlog yet. I read Heartstopper Volume 1 by Alice Oseman. I read this one for the readathon because I knew a graphic novel would be easy to get through during a readathon, but also 2 because I'm participating in the Oseman read-along hosted by my friend Katie from Katie Can't Read and Elise from The Petite Punk, I think is her channel, and I will link those down below as well. The first books that we're reading for the Oseman read-along are the Heartstopper graphic novels 1 through 4, and also Nick and Charlie. Live show for that I think is on the 12th or the 13th, which is very soon. I do need to read the other 3 volumes of the graphic novels, but like it won't take me long. They're graphic novels. But I did really enjoy it. I thought it was very cute. It follows these 2 characters, Nick and Charlie, who develop a relationship. Very adorable. Love the LGBTQ plus representation there. I actually really liked it. I did give Heartstopper 4 stars. But that's it for my wrap up. Not the greatest month, not the worst month. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure you're subscribed down below so you don't miss any future videos from me in the following months. And if you want to follow me on social media, all my links are in the description box down below as always. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video soon. Bye!
All you see is black.